Okay, let's work on the aileron. So I have the wires run for the servo through the wing, and I'm just going to peel these labels off the servo because I'm just going to glue the servo in place, and if it has to be replaced at any time in the future, then I'll just end up cutting the wing open or the covering open and replace the servo that way. But because I'm gluing the servo in, then I don't want it just stuck down with the label. I want to rough up the surface of the servo with sandpaper so that the glue can stick to it. So got a new 120 grit sandpaper on my sanding block. So I'm just going through and roughing up the plastic so that the glue has something to adhere to. So this is the bottom of the servo. Servo will mount in there like that. And the other surface I want to rough up is the actual bottom of the servo. So there we go. Got those surfaces roughed up. So I used the servo tester, this guy here, and centered all the servos so they're in the center right now. And so now I can mount the arm on. We don't have access to the arm once we close up once we glue the servo in place. So so I need to put the screw in to the arm now. So there we go. That's tight. I'm gonna test fit this. Just make sure it. Excuse me. Also, I cut off the part of the mounting flange on the servo. I cut a little chunk off of it just so it would fit in between the main spar, and then this side I sanded off a little bit so that wouldn't stick up out of the, past the. Maybe I should sand that a little more. So I don't want it to poke into the covering material when I cover the wing. Let me get this back out. I'm just going to sand a little more off of that corner. And this bracket, you can see where I cut a little corner off of a little square out of that corner, so it fit inside the main spar. Okay, that looks like it fits pretty well. So one other thing I want to do is make sure that I can get I want to drill out the hole in the arm. Just gonna check that with my drill, my electric drill. On these arms, I'm coming up the fourth hole from the screw. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm just checking the other one. It looks like I went the 5th hole up. I'll make sure they're the same, both sides. So. 6th hole. Second one from the end. That is a little bit small. I don't want it to be I don't want any slop or play in that connection for this push rod. So I'm just going to run the rod through the hole just to make sure it can go through. I don't have a drill bit that's the exact size of this push rod, so but I don't want it to be sloppy. Okay, so looks like that's working. So let's glue the servo in place now. So I'll put some glue on here on the surface. And this surface, I don't want any glue to go into those gears though. I'm pushing it down against the bottom plate and over against this rib. And now I'm going to pull the wire tight in the wing. Also, I should mention the joints where the connectors where the servo plugs in. I put cellophane tape over those connections so that they can't accidentally unplug. Okay, so that gets our servo mounted. Now let's connect our push rod. Let's see, I want the push rod to be on the outside so it can angle to that same angle as the aileron. It's a little bit tight. I don't know if I can get it in there. Okay, it's through. There we go. Okay. So now, yeah, there's no slop in that. Okay, so we've got the servo mounted, the horns attached, the push rod is connected, and W26 is the aileron. So we can take this masking tape with the label off now. I can get a hold of it. Okay. So you can see here it's a pretty tight fit. There's not enough clearance for on either end for the covering material. So we're going to have to cut that off. So that there's enough clearance. We don't want it to catch when it's operating, and especially once it's covered, it'll even tight, maybe no gap at all. So I'm going to take off maybe a 1/16 or maybe a little over a 1/16. So I'm just going to use my X-Acto razor saw, and this is cross grading, so now you can see we have, I don't know if you can see that or not. Let's move this over. So if you look right here, you can see that there's a gap, and then if we center the aileron, there's enough room for the covering material. So let's sand these edges. Make sure all those little nubs are off from where it was in the balsa, the main balsa frame. I'll just sand these edges too. I'm not taking much off, I'm just cleaning up the ends and all the edges. Okay, so now we'll have to hinge this, and then also we want to attach the control horn. So let's get a control horn out. You need 3 screws to attach the control horn. There's 3 screws, and there's also a linkage stopper we want to get out. So there we go. Got the parts we're going to need. So let's prepare this. Let's take our knife and cut this off. Okay. Okay, so this horn we're going to use the 4th hole the furthest away, and so that needs to be drilled out. Okay. So this will be mounted like this with the, so we want the linkage stopper to go into this side. So take the little locking nut off. And we want this to not have slop, but we don't want it to bind either, so. So there we go, it's pivoting. Now we put the nut on. This is a locking nut, so it doesn't have to be tight. You don't want it tight because you don't want it to bind up. But we can make it tight and then back off of it. Okay, so there it's tight. Back off a little bit.